Social is obviously a great advantage, gives you an opportunity to gain just viral distribution. But as we've seen from the Trump phenomenon, we were talking to Adam Bain about this earlier today, what drives, or what appears to drive social reach is it's opinion. And in fact, the more outraged opinion or the more outrageous opinion, the better. So if you're in the world of truth, you're in the world of journalism, okay, storytelling, but how do you manage a social environment that seems to reward outrageousness when you're in the truth business?
Well, I think you have to play the long game. When we do something that's timely, our yardstick is, can we bring something to this that no one else is doing? Can we have a unique spin on that? So, for instance, the Apple and encryption, a big story, and we waited until we had something different there. In this case, since I'd written a book about encryption, I was able to connect it historically, and come up with a forward looking essay, based on the past that it did really, really well there. Uber, a few weeks ago, we did a thing about Uber in China, and again, we brought, I was able to write about it because I had covered Google in China, and I was able to connect it to that. We do a thing that is Jessi's brainstorm called Follow Up Friday, where every Friday we pick up on a story from a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, something that happened that week in the past, and do new reporting to bring it out there. So we could do well with hot takes, but because we only publish typically one story a day, we don't want just something off the top of our heads to be our story for that day. It has to be something that's going to be worth reading later on. And even though we maybe forfeit the quick hits you'd get from that, from being timely and just being one more person saying this is what Donald Trump did at the debate last night, we think in the long run, people will understand that what you read in Backchannel is unique and worth reading.
And because what we do is so timeless in a sense, and because we have more than 140 characters, we create content that is, to some degree, evergreen for the educated professional. And social becomes this incredibly important tool for us in that context. So while I was watching the debate last night, I kept seeing Backchannel, my magazine, pop up in my feed with various articles, because our social person, I'm not going to tell you her name because she's that good, was busily pulling from our archive to feed us content at exactly the moment it's relevant. And we want to make sure that going forward, anytime any story is relevant, you need to understand more about it. You're going to be able to reach into Backchannel and find the context.
Yeah, and we have a very long tail, and because of the stories we do, I mentioned that with the Ray Ozzie thing, but I did a story about a year ago for a company called Wand Labs, and I had the exclusive story and wrote what I hope would be the definitive story. So about a couple months later, they got bought by Microsoft, I believe. Everyone referred back to that story. There it was there. So that's what we aim for. And I guess when Microsoft later on writes it off, they'll go back to that story again.
One last question. We're talking a lot, the theme of the conference, Advertising's New World Order, talking a lot about the relationship between big platforms and content creators. How do you view, what is your relationship with the large platform companies? Compared to the way it worked in your magazine days, do they amplify your message? Are you scared of them and their ability potentially to shut your voice off? How do you view this new world order of distribution and content?
Well, we are our own platform, and so we care deeply about Medium as a broader platform and deeper relationships with Medium readers. And we see the rest of the social platforms specifically as tools. And we're trying always to understand how best to use them. And I would say Twitter is the annoying next door neighbor that you play with because she's the only one home. And Facebook is like your mom's aunt who babysits every day, and you gotta really be nice to her and figure out what makes her happy, because that's how you can extend bedtime. Google Plus is like the second cousin who makes it to weddings every 5 years. Who am I missing?
Snapchat.
Snapchat. Snapchat is a little kid you babysit for, who you're like watching over their shoulder to see how they're using the internet, and you don't understand it at all.
That's kind of your younger brother's like friend who just all of a sudden got really cool, and you're kind of thinking,
Totally. That's exactly what Snapchat.
Yeah, he's not. You know, maybe my younger brother's not that young anymore either.
Anyway, so Medium really is, you know, one of the things that it offers publishers is a hedge against Facebook there. Between 1/3 and 40% of our traffic comes from within Medium. So, you know, and that's their pitch to publishers.